Good day, beautiful viewers. Welcome to today's talk on Uka'S beef. Today I'm looking at why Nigeria is pregnant. My name is Uka'S, the editor of Africa World newspaper based in Dublin. Well, watchers have been following issues in Nigeria, developments, especially developments towards the 2015 elections, the Boko Haram bombing in the northeast, seizing of territories, development on the political front between the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress, the APC. Nigeria is pregnant. Why is Nigeria pregnant? First, the history of Nigeria. It's a long history, but very interesting one. I recommend that you just brush yourself a bit with Nigerian history. There are many books on the history of Nigeria, or you can check one of my books. This Nigeria Whips. Nigeria Whips is a political history of Nigeria from inception. I wrote it when I left college. Why is Nigeria pregnant? Nigeria is pregnant due to many factors, but we have to take it briefly because for want of time. We all know the history of Nigeria when it got independence in 1960, how power was handed over to the North. When we say the North, it's not even the North. We've been seeing what's happening today that is not one North as we are told in the past. Power we are handed over to what we define in Nigeria political history as the core North, the oligarchy, and you find that they are Hausa Fulani people. And when we say the House of Fulani, it's not all, it's just a handful of them. I mean, the oligarchy. They've been running the country, development with coup d'etat until the Civil War. I just want to drive to the Jonathan presidency. After the Civil War, a lot happened. The war was won against the Biafra state. Biafra was snuffed out, and a series of military guys took power, and most of them were from the northern part of Nigeria. And when I say the northern part of Nigeria, the House of Fulani and its neighbors, until 1999 when power was handed over to Olusegun Obasanjo. And meanwhile, Olusegun Obasanjo is a Yoruba guy, but he's been one of them. He was involved in the Civil War. And when Murtala Muhammad was assassinated in the coup plotted by Bukasuka Dimka, power was handed over to Olusegun Obasanjo because he was the second in command then. But nevertheless, or however, he was still surrounded with House of Fulani guys in the military. And power was given back to him because they trusted him, and he was asked to return power back to them at the expiration of his 2 terms of 8 years. And he did so. He returned it to Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, a brother to Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. You see, the same people. But unfortunately, Yar'Adua died on the May 5th, 2010. And to the best of my knowledge, Yar'Adua is known as a very good man. But you know, the history of Nigeria, he comes from a section which has been running things, and they've not really presented a good account of stewardship in Nigeria since after the Civil War, which Nigeria fought from 1967 to 1970. Now, coming to the Jonathan presidency, Jonathan took power at the death of Yar'Adua. We all know what happened before he took power. If it were easy for them, they wouldn't have given Jonathan power. Yar'Adua was flown out of the country to Saudi Arabia. Even while being a dead man, the nation was kept in limbo. He was flew in from Saudi Arabia. His corpse. There was standstill at the airport. All the leads went off at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at Abuja. Nigeria was run like fiefdom. At that time, there was a cabal running things. And, the nation was in darkness about what's happened to their president and all sorts. And since then, Jonathan managed to assume powers. And he has been running the state of affairs in the most turbulent environment, as in bombings, threats from the corners that before he assumed, they threatened that the state would be made ungovernable for him, and they've lived up to their threats, instigating Boko Haram and cohorts to be bombing, suicide bombers, something Nigeria has not been used to. Suicide bombers are everywhere. And you see, next year is election, and Jonathan wants to come back again, and there have been trouble everywhere. So that's why I said Nigeria is pregnant. Why is Nigeria pregnant? It looks like Nigerians have not learned from history. And depending on where you come from or what you have read, you see Nigerians presenting different accounts of how things went bad. But if we can tell ourselves the truth, we know that since after the Civil War, the leaders have been very bad. They've been ruling badly. They have no blueprints to develop Nigeria. The core north, when I say the core north, a handful of elites amongst the House of Fulani have been leading the nation badly. Why I blame them is because they were the guys that handpicked leaders from every other section, particularly in the southeast. Most of the people that emerged as leaders of Igbo land were not selected by the people. From the end of the Civil War until recently, just democracy has afforded the people the time, the interest to start getting involved. Agitations is now bringing up, a positive leadership, and events are being overtaken by developments on the ground. For instance, how Jonathan became president on a very good day. Nigeria wouldn't want or wouldn't have given opportunity to a minority to become president. But you see how God does his things. Jonathan became president, and they are making things difficult for him. I always equate Nigeria as a soured soup. Nigeria to me is like a soured soup. If you come from my part of Nigeria, you know what I mean by soured soup. Some families might be poor, and unfortunately, we could have soup that got soured, and they can't afford to make a new one or something to eat. They will heat up that soured soup. They keep heating it, and adding condiments, pepper, new things, to bring out the taste. Yeah, at the end of the day, they will manage to eat it. But you still remember that no matter how you heat up the soured soup, that taste of sour soup will always be there. So Jonathan, it's not been easy for him. Knowing fully how he came to power, the people surrounding him, and the wolves around Nigeria, has always told a very bad line. Nigeria was built on a bad foundation. We have to face the facts. Our forefathers didn't do a good job. We often hail our founding fathers, and they never did a good job. They never forged the country in a united front. We're not united. But how can we be united with what is happening in Nigeria today? Is it easy to be united? Boko Haram sitting northeast, they don't want anyone to run the country apart from their people. Before Jonathan became president, was Boko Haram seizing territory as they are doing at the moment? I happened to do my youth service in the Core North. Youth service is a 1-year program, sort of paramilitary program in Nigeria after your university service or tertiary institution. If you fall under a certain age, you do a 1-year compulsory service to your nation. I did it there, and in where I did my youth service, Sokoto to be precise, at the end of the month, people gather and share allocation, without doing much. Unlike in the south, it's difficult. You have to work for your money. There are local governments here and there. The military guys threw up new formats in administering Nigeria. So they allocated more local governments to their section. A lot of things were built on falsehood. The population of Nigeria is not true. People are still afraid of the head count in Nigeria. If you say, for instance, it's on paper that the northern part of Nigeria has more population than the south, or this section has more population than the other section. Well, I'm not saying it's not right, but why can't we do this head count very well? Let everyone show his face. Let there be identity card. Every Nigerian should have an identity card. There should be biometric form in our census so that we really know how many we are. We cannot say we are this number when there's no proof for that, because without census there cannot be proper planning in Nigeria. I think Nigeria is pregnant with the way things are going. Bombings everywhere, sabotage in the military. Boko Haram gaining territories. On a very good day, Boko Haram cannot be a match to the Nigerian army. But because after the civil war, a section of the country has been controlling the military, even allocations for states to getting their people into the Nigerian Defense Academy are awarded to them. So we know some of this truth, but we refuse to say it out. Nigeria is pregnant, and only God knows what is going to deliver. There are a lot to say about Nigeria, but truly, Nigeria is pregnant. And if I should contribute my own opinion, the Core North is asking for power. They want to take back power. But what do you want to do with the power? The time you had, what did you do? Infrastructure-wise, employment for the youth, unity of the country. You want Nigeria to be united, then you did not lay a groundwork for it. There are Nigerians all across the world. Nigerians are even dying on the Mediterranean Sea trying to get to Europe. Nigerians have become drug dealers everywhere. Fraudsters. Most of these people started this as a matter of frustration. Yeah, it is not a good deal. But what are you doing to alleviate the problems of the youth? Tens of thousands graduate every year without job to support their families or something to show for going to school. Many are no longer interested in education because those who went to school cannot find good jobs. There are many things to say about Nigeria, but the country is really pregnant. And I think as the election keep drawing, we'll start looking at how things can be sorted out in Nigeria, if at all it can. Because the way things are going, there is big fears for Nigeria. And that's why I say Nigeria is pregnant. It's me today again, Uka'S, the editor for Africa World newspaper based in Dublin. Check out what we are doing at africaworldnewspaper.com or our platforms on the social media. Thank you for listening to me.